How's it going, guys? Sitting here looking at this problems for this week. Introduction to Pythagorean Theorem. Okay, on this question, it's we're just looking for something to equal 20 because this side plus this side is going to equal this side. So we need to figure out 16. Whoops, let's get the right color on here. Go right over that. 16 plus what? Question mark equals 20. Well, 16 plus 4 equals 20. Sorry about my sloppy handwriting. So we know that the area of this would be 4. So if we know area, we know its length times width. Well, what times what equals 4, and it has to be the same numbers. So 2 times 2. So that would be our missing side length, which would be a 2. Alright, friends, keep going along here. Let's see. Check out this video as you're going. This video is really going to help you. I wouldn't pass it by. It's not too long, so take a look at it. On this one, it's just trying to figure out what type of triangle you need to have. Well, it's very simple. You need a right angle, so it has to be a right triangle. Alright, cruising along. Okay, this is basically telling us that the side lengths are 8 and 15 and the hypotenuse is 17. Notice that the hypotenuse is always in this position across from our right angle. Okay, so and it's always the largest number, so that's important to note. So on this one, identify the hypotenuse. Well, where's the largest number? Boom, got it. Okay, so go ahead and move down to your next question. Looking again for your largest number, which one's the hypotenuse? Well, it's got to be 50. 50 is larger than 40 and larger than 30. Moving down, all they've done is really just turn this triangle around, and we're still looking for the largest number, so 13 would be it. Okay, oops, 13 would be it. Okay, so we're scrolling right down. Wants to know which ones are our lengths. Well, our lengths are going to be the two shorter angle or sides. So here we go. We're going to say 6 and we're going to say 8 because 10 would be our hypotenuse and not a leg. Okay, so continuing on with that, you should be able to roll on with this one. 9, 12 would be our legs. Same thing here. We're looking for our shortest sides, which would be 7 and 24. I really invite you guys to sit and watch these videos. These videos are going to be really helpful when it comes to understanding Pythagorean Theorem. Pythagorean Theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It's something that you're going to want to memorize. It's not something you're going to want to skip by. You need to memorize it. It's basically saying you square this side, which is a leg, and you square this leg, and they are going to equal the square of this side. Okay, and it will allow us to find our length. Okay, going through, here it is, a squared, which was 5. This is our length over here. So our length is 5, and our other length is 12, because the hypotenuse is across from the right angle. So that's C. 5 squared, well, it's just 5 times 5, which is 25, and 12 squared, which is which is 144, because 12 times 12 is 144. Add those two together, you get 169. Square root of 169 is 13. Excuse me. Alright, moving right along, it wants to solve some of these problems, so let's go ahead and solve. We have our two legs, we do not have our hypotenuse, so we have a squared plus b squared equals our c squared. Well, our legs are 6 and 8. It doesn't matter which one you use first. Let's just use 6 because it's the first one I see. And plus 8 squared equals c squared. 6 times 6, 36. And squaring 8 is 8 times 8, which is 64. And that is going to equal 100. Okay, so we know right now that 100 equals c squared. So take the square root, take the square root. We need to figure out what times what, and it has to be the same number times itself equals 100. Well, that is 10 times 10 equals 100. So C equals 10. We would plug in 10 right there. All right, moving right along. Continuing to practice, this is just plugging in where we have 15 is our hypotenuse. So we know that 9 is our legs. So we have 9 and B is our legs. Okay, so we have to place that in the correct position. 9 is a leg. They put it in the position of one of the legs. B is a leg. We don't know what that number is yet. And 15 is our hypotenuse. So you have to plug it in, keep working, and solve. We'll try a couple of these, and you will see how I work those out. Okay, here we go. You're going to probably need a nerd box on this one because we have 17 squared and 15 squared, unless you know those off the top of your head. I know 15 squared. I don't know what 17 squared is. I don't have that one memorized yet. But here we go. X is one of our legs and 15 is one of our legs. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, I don't know what x is, so let's just leave it as a squared plus 15 squared equals 17 squared. All right, 15 squared, well, that one is just 15 times 15, which is 225. Leave our a squared in there, and this is going to equal 17 squared. 17 squared is just 289. Go ahead and plug that into a nerd box. And we have 225. Oop, that's a plus sign. Wow. Love, my handwriting hasn't improved much, has it? So we need to use removal here, and we are going to take away from both sides. Okay, so technically that's adding in balanced sets. So this would get down to 0. So all we'd have left is our a squared, and we would have 289 minus 225, which is really just 64. I don't want a squared though. I want the side length. Okay, so this square on this side length, the area is 64. So I have to figure out what number times what number gets me 64. Okay, so the square root and square root, a would equal 8. Okay, so it's basically saying that the side length is of this square is 8. So once we know the side lengths, we would know that this would also be 8 because it's a square and all sides are the same number. So that one would be 8, giant 8. Moving right along, we are going to find a couple more questions. You just look at it, it's basically, is it equal? If it's not equal, then it's not a right triangle. If it is equal, then it is a right triangle. So you can do these ones. You'll see the first one is yes, and because it's equal. This one would be no, because it's not equal. Okay, and then you're working these out. Okay, you need to see if this is going to equal. You would know that you would have to draw a right triangle. My 23 is my largest side, so it has to be my hypotenuse. This would be 18, this would be 14, and you need to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You're going to plug it in. I know c squared. That's my hypotenuse, which is 23 squared. And then we have our legs, 14 squared plus 18 squared. Okay, you're balancing these. Okay, see if it's equal. So here we go. 14 squared, that's 196. Okay, and we're adding it on to 18 squared. 18 squared is 324. Okay, and then we need to see if that equals 23 squared, which is 529. I'm using a calculator, so you should be using a calculator as well. 196 plus 324 gets me 520. And on this side I have 529. And these two are equal, correct? 520 is equal to 529. No, those aren't equal. They're never going to be equal. This one has 9 more than this side. Okay? So you're going to go through this and select the answer that fits. You need to do this process on each one of these numbers. Okay? You're going to try these independently. Let me know if you need help on any of them. I can help you. And then you're just going to answer your question, and you should be all finished with this assignment.